Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to look at and do our daily technical analysis update of gold and silver. I can tell you this just by looking at some of the charts really quickly. Doesn't look too hot. Looks like we could see some further downside here. But let's take a look at the charts. We'll dive in there. I'll let the charts do the talking. Again, this is just my financial opinion. Please don't use it as advice. But we'll dive in there, let you know what I think. I'll start with the dollar. Dollar's looking somewhat, it's going sideways, somewhat strong. We came out of this ascending wedge, broke to the downside, and we've been moving sideways. The 10-year yield, again, we've been bouncing between these two resistance support lines. We're just going back and forth. That's where yields have been going. We've got gold. Gold's kind of breaking out of this. We can kind of zoom in here. It's kind of breaking down below this little support line that I threw in here. We could see a little bit more downside potentially. Silver looked like it was breaking through its support line as well to the downside. We could see more downside here. That's the what it looks like on a daily candlestick basis, breaking to the downside, and it closed pretty strong. Platinum also selling off to the downside. Looks like we could see some more selling pressure ahead of us. So we bounced up and then it rolled back over. So we could head a little bit lower here. Let's zoom way in here. It's still a little bit of support. We'll see if it holds right here. Where I'm looking at is kind of like this support down here. Like somewhere in this range. I can't even pull it up. Somewhere in this range here. XEU to gold ratio. This is what it looks like on a kind of a big long-term perspective. Zooming on the right side here, coming on down, bouncing all around. Yeah, I could pull back a little bit more, but I think we'll see a bottom here shortly. Hopefully. Again, guys, I don't know the short term. I know the long term looks good, and I know the market conditions are right. Here's Karora Resources. This does have a nice big bearish engulfing pattern here. Coming on down, I think we're probably going to cycle back and forth for a little bit. And it could potentially head lower if this support doesn't hold. EXK, downward movement. The upward movement couldn't break this downward trend. And we're breaking back down. We're still in this downtrend line. SILJ. SILJ could be doing a returning move. We need to hold above this support line. So we broke up, we came back, and hopefully we can bounce back up and not break back down. Strong downtrend motion. We've got big selling pressure here, smaller buying pressure, and then usually it results itself with the buying pressure consolidating sideways. So that's what we're doing, consolidating sideways. Metallic minerals, looks like we still got some selling pressure in here. Very strong selling pressure. Look how many down days we have in a row here. That's ridiculous. Or that's down days in a row. That's ridiculous. Koya is still getting sold off quite hard. I would probably be, I don't know, selling out of my position. We're making new lows in Koya. I'd be very careful here. If you own it, I'd probably stop loss out of it. This thing could be getting ugly. I'm starting to see a lot of these turn quite a bit lower. We are below some of these. I mean, this could be a continuation pattern to the downside. It very well could be, and we could see prices very much lower in the short term. We may not be ready yet. And again, this is AG, First Majestic. We're coming back. We need to hold. Well, we've got support here at about 984, but we could come to the lower end of this pattern and still be okay with everything. That just means that we pull back quite a bit. That doesn't mean that's what I think, but I mean, it's a possibility. Here's Newmont. Coming on down, we're holding okay. Let's zoom in on the daily. We're still chopping sideways with support underneath it for Newmont. Yamana Gold, we're still within the pattern. Obviously had a somewhat of a larger down day today, but we're still within the pattern. Impact Silver, the downtrend's still broken. We're still kind of moving sideways here. Looks okay at the moment, even though we had a larger down day today. And Aftermath Silver, still grinding, bumping and grinding this lower line. We're just above it. Not really too much to say there. Here's Sand. Sand is still trying. I mean, if we break below this, we could see a good size move to the downside if it breaks. I would say we're still kind of hanging on by tooth floss. We'll see if we can turn here. We got support right underneath it. Let's see if we can turn and move it upward. Franco-Nevada still in this big old pattern. So that's good. Zooming in, we've got some more downside pressure. I think we'll probably find support here at some point, maybe 124 to 127. EMX, looking at EMX, still broke the downtrend line, so that looks okay. And we're stuck between this resistance line and the trend line below it. The resistance line being the stronger one. This guy going across here. We got to break back above this. We start breaking down, we could see a good move lower. I mean, we could easily see, something to $2 and then down maybe to $1.60 if it were to break. Tuden Resources still hanging on. You can see we're right at that support resistance line. Wheaton Precious Metals, we're still in this gigantic pattern, kind of just moving sideways. Here's Gold Royalty. Looking at it, it's trying to come back up. This could retest and break back down. It's difficult to say when we get to the corners of these things. And, you could always draw it like this too. You can always change how you draw these things depending on how the pattern is. We could be still coming out in the pattern. MTA, let me zoom out a little bit here. Could be something like that. Zooming in on the right-hand side for metallic minerals. I mean, we are starting to break below the support line here on this big old pattern back here. Mavericks Metals looking kind of weak. Hopefully we can contract and start to turn back up, but this is below this support line. It is a back test, and this could fall quite a bit. It could fall, 338. There's some support kind of in here at 415 right below it. There's some support right below it. We'll see if it holds. But this could break, and a projected move would be something on the lines of could be 370 or something like that. Yeah, and that correlates to some support back here. So I mean, we could pull back there before moving on up. Royal Gold, it's still holding on inside of its pattern here. That's what I've got in this big old pattern. And then Cisco Gold Royalty. We're dancing on the line here today on this lower trend line. So that's what we're just dancing all over this place right now. You can see that big old sell-off, and then we came back up. Trying to find some stability, I think, with this huge sell-off right before it. Let me look at the daily chart. I think this is big two moves, and it's probably going to move sideways before trying to attempt to go back up. But that's what I have for today. And guys, like just like everyone else, no one knows this future. No one knows the intermediate, or no one knows the short term. This thing's going to bounce all over the place. I can tell you this, though. Market conditions are becoming more favorable over time in front of us. Do we have a gap between the stimulus stuff and the expansionary phase of real estate? Maybe. Maybe there is. We're still early to this game. They need to build a lot more homes to get that inflation rolling from the real estate market. Everything else has been artificially printed. It's in the system. It's got a lot of money. It's coming. But people are afraid. There's fear in this market. That's why if you were to look up at the VIX is going all over the place here. This is your volatility of the S&P 500 index. You kind of look at this, and this thing's, whenever you get these, this is 08, and we recently in 2020 came up the same volatility here, and we're kind of coming up here in the short term. We've come up to levels that are kind of higher. There's a lot of fear out there. People are selling, they're moving things around. They don't know what to do. So what I do is I do nothing. I just hold on. So that's the VIX there. Could we go lower? Yeah, we could. We could go lower a little bit, and we could also go higher. Just as in the very short term, it can do anything, guys. So what I look for are the big picture views. Are the big picture views still intact? I would say on some of them, they're starting to actually break down. MMX, it's doing a back test coming back down. EMX is playing with its lower line. Sandstorm Gold is playing with the lower line. Some of them are breaking down. So if you guys want to carry more cash, if you guys like that sector and thinking that it could potentially blow out to the downside, it could. It could. It's playing with its lower trend lines, and it could break out to the downside. Am I going to do anything different myself? No, I'm not going to sell any of my shares. I'm just going to hold on. The market conditions are good. The valuations are good. Everything's good from that perspective. If I have to live through a 20% pullback or something, that could happen, or even 30 or 40%. We could have a short-term pullback and then a move higher. We might not. And I know there's a lot of people, they listen to a lot of things on YouTube. One thing that and I'll do this in another clip. I'll get into it in another clip, but that's what I've got for today. I just wanted to kind of go over that we are playing with the lower lines, and we could potentially break to the downside in some of these. If you guys like this content, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.